Hello, everyone. This is Cremechiss, and I'm here with Sank. I am Suri, and we are so happy that you're here and you're watching us. And if this is your first time to our channel, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, note that we love you, and we are so happy with all the attention you're giving us, and we are really looking forward to seeing a few more subscribes. The subscribes have kind of taken a bit of a hit for us for the past couple of weeks, and we're not exactly sure why, but the views are still consistent. Uh, so we're really confused. We are kind of trying to navigate this YouTube thing the best way we can. But please do subscribe, do like, do share, check out our previous videos. We have put in a lot of effort in a lot of different kinds of movies, and we try to cover as many different movies as possible and as many different shows as possible. We do like pop culture and stuff that is underrated. And today, in fact, we're talking about a heavily underrated movie, a very good movie, a very riveting story, which is kind of a one and done kind of a movie. Like, it is so good that you cannot watch it again. It's that kind of movie. Like how there are bad
Okay.
movies that you watch again and again. Then there are good movies you cannot watch ever again, and this is one of those movies.
Yeah, I
uh
think like the only time when I've watched bad movie, a bad movie again and again is when they've played uh I don't know, the Mike Myers, the Love Guru or something on television. Whatever.
Oh my God.
I I I never understood why I watched that movie every time it was on TV. I hated it every time. But yeah, let's talk about
Is it
let's
because
talk
that was
about
the only option you were given as in Indian in India to watch like certain movies in like English cinema? Because there were certain movies that played constantly on those channels that played American films.
Mhm.
And it was
No, but
always like
there
something
were
racist.
there were other options, obviously. Like we had a bunch of English channels, right?
Yes,
I don't know. I was born in a time when we did not have just one channel to be. So
we were born in the same time, and yes, but I'm trying to say that there were certain channels that played certain racist things a lot. And I don't know why, like the company
so
that
yeah,
ran the
yeah.
channel thought like, oh, let's play the Love Guru in India like over and over again. It's like, why did they think that was a good idea? I have no idea. Anyway, but yeah.
They thought Mariska Hargitay was an Indian word.
Oh, I
Anyways,
forgot about that. Never mind.
cool. We can't digress in the beginning of the video. So let's
Yes.
let's
Let's not
let's get on
digress.
track.
The movie we are about to discuss is not at all funny or trashy in any whatsoever. Sank and I actually had a 40-minute talk about how there isn't a lot to talk about this movie right before we recorded this, and I think that's
Like there are
go ahead, go
there
ahead.
are high concept movies and then there's this.
Yes, yes, and it. First of all, it'll make you a bit uncomfortable. So trigger warnings everywhere, guys. Like if you have triggers towards certain kinds of delicate topics and sensitive topics, like I would recommend maybe listening to us for like 5 minutes, getting the name of the movie and getting out. And the ones who are curious about this movie or who have watched this movie, and probably didn't have a lot of people to talk with it, like talk about it, because the this is what is weird. Son, you recommended this movie to me, and then did we watch it together or did we watch it separately? I cannot remember.
No, I remember I told you to watch it and you were watching it and you were texting me while you were watching it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember.
And you
Okay.
were predicting at every point what's gonna happen.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
this is I think in the first half an hour or so, it is a bit the plot changes very quickly and then it settles down when we know the actual conflict
Yes.
like that. So
Yes.
there are things that you can speculate in the movie. Like
Hmm.
it's not like there is just one thing that we have to that the movie is talking about. There are a lot of things that the movie is talking about, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like it does get a bit fast paced in the first half an hour, and then when it finds a grip,
Mm.
when you know what the characters are going through because of the incidents that have happened in the first half an hour or so, that's when it settles down.
Okay, yeah, I think I agree with that. That is a very decent way to sum up like the base of the movie. And I mean, the movie we're talking about today is The Hunt. And no, it's not the horror drama slick good film that is also another great movie called The Hunt. But this is a this in every sense of the word The Hunt, it is the perfect title for this movie. I don't think
Mhm.
a movie has been titled better than this film because you know like when you think of like titles for the movies, once you watch the movie and you're like, oh, that's why they named it that. Like this is not that. You learn immediately from from the first 15 minutes what this is going to be about. And in the real sense of the word, the hunt would be associated, with like something very wild and ferocious and violent and physically violent, I guess. And this is not that. Like unlike the horror film Hunt, the
Mhm.
Hunt, which was about like a physical hunt where you're like finding someone
Which
and trying to kill
is
them.
which is also about liberals hunting conservationists, right? Wasn't that the movie? Yeah, it is about liberals hunting. Sorry, it's about liberals hunting uh bigots or something like that, right? Oh, which one
No,
are you talking about? I'm talking about the 2021.
I'm talking about the girl who was the bride, who
What?
the bride. Wait, are there three
No.
the hunts? Wait. I think I know
Okay.
which one you're talking
I'm t
about. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that one. I'm talking about the one where this girl gets married into this family, and then they find out that
Oh,
there's a curse on the
that's
family that if she picks hide and seek, then they have to hunt her
that's
down.
ready something.
That's
Ready.
not the hunt.
No, no, no. That's ready something. Wait. Samantha Weaving, right?
Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm talking about a
Good.
completely different movie. You're right. That
Ready or
is
not?
Ready or
It's
Not.
called Ready or Not. Yes.
That is Ready or Not. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I immediately thought that was The Hunt. And the one you're talking about is yeah, the third The Hunt film, which is about
The
people
liberals.
hunting down bigots, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
That was a fun movie.
That was a fun movie. Okay, guys, so sorry. We have completely derailed this discussion as usual.
Mhm.
Uh but if you've stuck around so far, just let me kind of reiterate. The the Ready or Not separate film was the movie I was talking about before. The Hunt, another movie that came out in 2020, which was about people hunting down bigots, like basically like a sport for sport. And then the hunt that we are talking about has someone really very special, a person who's had my heart since Druk. uh
Oh, okay. So you saw Droop first?
yeah, I saw Druk
Okay.
first for
So
the
by the way, we've named the movie, right? Okay.
hunt. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
you've named the movie.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
one way
So
or the
this
other.
is The Hunt. I think the 2020 version was, oh, it was also The Hunt.
Hmm.
So both The Hunt and Drook,
Hmm.
also called as Another Round in English,
Yes.
both were directed by Michael Winterberg, and both starred the amazing Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
So yeah, so you saw Drook before The Hunt?
I saw Druk before the hunt. Yes. um
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And the weird thing for me is that Mr. Mickelson shines every time, obviously, like the I think the Hannibal spin-off that happened. It is shocking to me that he can play so many roles so effortlessly. Like you never see him break character ever. But you also never hear him because these are generally the actors, that you hear, oh, he went into method acting and he actually became an alcoholic for a month to do that role. Like, and like the stuff you hear about Jared Leto, that he asked a person to push him around in a wheelchair when the Morbius movie or whatever came out. Um,
Yeah,
that
I heard
that
things
he
about
refused to leave the wheelchair even to like
that.
pee and whatever. And you generally you expect like these kind of actors like
I
Miss
don't know
Smith.
why. I don't know why they give out these information. Like, I think that kind of information would do the movie more harm than the movie
Yes,
itself.
it really would. Like that is not a smart marketing gimmick. They did the same thing during the Suicide Squad situation
Hmm.
where they like, oh, I didn't understand where Jared started and the Joker ended, and there were these bunch of memes coming out like what Jared Leto did and what the director saw. Like, it's like, like, and then how he apparently gifted them a dead pig and said, "Love Jay," because he's Jared, but also the Joker. Like, the the movie failed colossally, and I think that was you're right. Like, it probably was like a really good movie, but because of the hype around it, people did not like,
Hmm.
did not get the expected, I guess. And
Hmm.
this guy, Mikkelsen, he is someone who is fascinating because you will never hear about his prep. You will never hear about like what he did to like endure his role and stuff like that. You'll never hear those things about him. He is like a passenger of the night. Like you have no idea where like what his prep is, where he comes from, how many movies, how many shows he's been. Like you have no clue, but he's actually been in a lot of good stuff, especially this movie. And for me, his appearance itself is very unique. Like he has an
Hmm.
almost unsettling otherworldly face, and
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
so
like,
cool that you have to look away, like something like that.
if if I was a 6-year-old girl, I'd be infatuated also.
Okay, so Sank has reined us in really, really, really smoothly. Thank you, sir. Good job.
But yeah, there is like a bunch of, I don't know, like on the internet there are a bunch of people simping for Mr. Mikkelsen.
Oh, yes, 100%. And both of us included, we were madly in love with him when we were talking about Rook, especially, and this movie. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, this movie requires a lot of patience from the actor, in my humble opinion, because it is not a movie of like there's not a flow and an ebb happening at all times. It is very straightforward. Like this
Hmm.
is the event, these are the consequences, and
Hmm.
you are relying basically on luck and timing for stuff to turn out in the protagonist's favor. And like Sang said, I mean, the movie is based on a very dark premise. So guys, again, trigger warning, trigger alert, please, like now that you know the movie and maybe you want to look it up before you listen to us or watch the movie itself. But basically what happens is this is a man who has it going for him. That's how the movie starts. That everything is working out in his favor. He's in love with a wonderful person. He has a job he likes. He has good friends. He is respected in society. He's very lovable and very charming person. And at one point, there is this particular, and he's a teacher in a school for like kids, and they're 6 or 7 years of age, and he's kind of woven into their day to day. So he knows about them, their families, everything, because this is like looks like a small town. This doesn't look like a very vast city
Hmm.
type of situation. This
I
is
mean,
like
like,
everyone knows everything.
yeah, fun for them is going skinny dipping with their
Hmm.
hunting mates.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
That's
like
a like very first scene in the movie.
yeah.
Penis.
Yeah, like it is it is a bit unsettling for people who are not used to that kind of cinema. But
Hmm.
like again, like I said, the it required the actor's patience. It'll also require the audience's patience, because it is a very weirdly enticing movie. Because the the fact of the matter is, this character, he's so interwoven into his students' lives that, like, there's this little girl who wanders off because her parents are like maybe going at it. They have like a fight or something. So there's a bit of neglectfulness going on
Hmm.
with her parenting, and she's really small, so she doesn't know what's going on. And this guy, being like the good guy he is, basically says, hey, you shouldn't wander around. You should be safe. You should be indoors. Oh, here's I have a pet dog. You can play with my pet dog if you like. Like there are these very cute details that show us that he's her protector. He's not her parent, but he's her protector. Like he will advocate for her because she has doesn't have very attentive parents, and that backfires somehow, and that becomes the premise of the movie, where this little girl kind of falls in love with her teacher, which is very common. We all fall in love with our protectors, and especially this person who kind of in some ways represents her father but isn't her father and isn't
Hmm.
isn't the official like guardian. And at that age especially, like you don't really understand what that feeling is other than the fact that you really really like them, and she's just 6, so she has no idea what she's talking about. And she kisses him on the mouth, and he rebuffs her like any, I guess, any normal human would. Like he said, no, 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 don't do that. You should not do that. And he rejects her gift, and basically he rejects her advances.
I
And
mean,
because
he's a
she's a
teacher,
child.
so
Yeah,
I think I think he knows how to deal in that situation, right?
exactly.
Like he straight out tells her that like mouth kissing is strictly for your mom, that you do to your only to your mom and dad.
Yeah, it's not for anyone else. Like in some ways he informs her about consent and stuff. When that happens, he's like, you're a child, so even if it is your decision, it's the wrong decision. So
Hmm.
like because you're a child, you have no way of understanding what is right or wrong. So I'm telling you as an adult, as the guardian over here, that never ever do this to anybody. And she takes that as a rejection towards her. She feels embarrassed, and this is the only person who is like giving her attention other than her parents, and that bothers her. And then we see something really disturbing. I think her older brother's friend shows her some kind
Yeah.
of like
I think it
adult.
happens before it.
It happens
Yeah.
before, yeah. And
Yeah. Before the kissing.
yeah,
So she's shown uh the pornographic image of, I think, a penis or something.
no, it's some
Yeah.
kind of like an adult movie which like
Yeah,
clearly
it's a
is
penis.
not meant
No,
for
no,
her,
no.
but you can tell that the brother's friend is abusing her through that, like by showing her lewd
Hmm.
images and
Yeah,
basically taking
it's
advantage
a
of her.
penis, and they're like talking about, uh I think they're referring it as a rod or something like that. And that's the exact same thing that she tells the teacher as well.
Yeah, she uses the same like verbiage, the same language, because a person who was clearly like knew he was doing something wrong and trying to take advantage of a child. So basically we get to see who the real pedophile is in like
Hmm.
very quickly in the movie. And he tries to like show these lewd images to this child, and it kind of stays in her brain, and she gets influenced by that, and now she has like words to say about things that she doesn't understand, that she couldn't possibly understand because she's a child.
Hmm.
And but she knows that's what adults do. So I really like the way they address this in the movie, because this can go sideways quickly. I have seen that happen in movies where they have tried to say something but they somehow make it the child's fault, and they make it the
Ah,
victim's fault. This movie
oh,
did not do that.
I
They showed
love that
immediately.
about this
Oh,
movie.
it was so well done, where they
And
explain that it's never the child's fault, it's never the victim's fault. And
that is
yeah,
such a great way of showing why he's a proper idealistic protagonist, right? Like
yes,
he never
he
blames
never
the kid.
blames her. He never
Like
blames.
when, yeah, like she comes to him at one point, and she tells that everybody's talking about things that done to me, and he doesn't blame her like it's because you
No,
have said that to them. No, he's
no,
like, what do you think I did to you?
yeah,
Like, what do you believe? That's
yeah,
what he asks her.
yeah.
He
And
never, he never, like, even though he knows that she's not the victim, he's still not blaming her for it.
no, he never blames her. And I mean, that's kind of where it gets really interesting, that this incident happens and he doesn't mention it to anybody. because
Hmm.
in his adult mind, this is like a very common thing for like kids to suddenly have a crush on an adult. Like he's probably
Hmm.
been in it, maybe not been in it before, but for him to be mature enough to understand that this is a thing that kids go through sometimes and it's okay. And he doesn't mention it to anybody, and that is kind of the beginning of his downfall, that he does not mention it to anybody because she does. And then
Hmm.
she informs her parents, which now when I realize as I'm talking about it, was her way of um it was her way of like getting attention from her parents. It was her way
Uh,
of getting like the love
yes.
that she wanted from her parents, that she tried to get from her parents, did not get, tried to get from her teacher, did not get it, and now she's it's
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm going to use this, and like
Because
basically two birds one stone kind of situation.
that's a really good point. Because like the first time she confesses to her teacher,
Yeah,
and then I think another counselor or someone comes in,
yeah,
and she's hesitant in front of him. Like the first time he asks her, she's actually denying it.
yeah,
She tells him like nothing happened or anything like that.
yeah,
But when she's in front of the parents, she's very sure that it happened.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it
Maybe it
is
is like
because
her
she's
going, oh, my parents are finally
yeah.
noticing me, like, okay, yeah, 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 this happened, like, and the
Also, it becomes
tone changes. Yeah.
tough for like when when you're a kid and when you know that people are have like called out your lies and all,
Mhm.
you say more lies to cover
Yeah,
it up, right?
you
When you're
say
a
more
kid.
lies to cover it up, absolutely. And the nature of this lie is very, very delicate, because more often than not,
Hmm.
kids do not lie about this stuff. It is very hard for them to say anything about it at all. And this is what the counselor has in experience, is what the teacher knows from experience, that kids don't lie about this stuff. Like this
Hmm.
is not this is not a lie. And the thing is, now that I now that I think of the movie, she wasn't lying. She was force fed a video that she
Hmm.
shouldn't have watched. A form of abuse did happen to her. It was not this person.
Hmm.
It wasn't our hero. It was someone else who abused her. And
It
and see,
was
that's the thing.
actually I think like it was indirectly explained also in one scene. Like so when she's telling I think it's a counselor or someone, like when she's telling them about what happened, she tells them that he did that to her in a basement. Okay. So he did that to her in a basement, in his basement or something like that.
Hmm,
And his the Mads Mikkelsen's I don't know, best friend of his son's godfather, he
yeah,
actually says that, asks the son, you know what the police did not discover when they were at your home? The son says that that we don't have a basement. So they, yeah, exactly. She made it up.
she made
But
it.
the Godfather says that, like, kids do that all the time. Like they would get this information from some other source and they would add it up to the story.
Yeah,
So they are explaining, they are indirectly doing
yeah,
that in the story as well.
in the
Like,
story as well. Like they are breaking down elements of what could be real and what couldn't be. And the way this
mm,
movie spirals over time, like he loses his job, he loses the faith of the community, the society, the parents that trusted their kids. It starts rolling, like it goes up with like, oh, multiple
oh,
kids are now claiming that you abuse them. And it is the reason that is very scary is because it's possible that those kids had that happen to them, but they have no way of saying who did it to them.
mm,
Exactly like this girl who was, well, abused by showing like this visual graphic stuff to, like, at an age she should have never seen it, and she has no way of actually communicating that this happened, because in reality she wasn't touched, but in a way she was abused by her brother's friend. Like it's
mm,
so it's so multifaceted, the story, where, and the way they narrate it, it comes to a point where you're like, let me rewind this and watch it again, because you're like, did he abuse her? Because the story actually convinces even the audience that, there's something foul happening, like we can't tell what it is, but there's something. And they keep it that way. They keep it vague. They keep him separate from the investigation. They keep Nicholson outside of the case, but also somehow receiving the direct repercussions of it in every form. Like when he goes to a grocery store, they tell him that he and his father are not welcome there anymore. Like he can't even buy himself food to eat anymore.
Mm.
And
Those were
I
the
don't,
toughest scenes for me in the
those
movie.
were hard to watch because somewhere as an audience, when especially when you know what actually happened, it is very dark. It
Mhm.
gets darker from there, and the fact that it comes down to a very simple thing where he is like beaten up, and his friend like is like staring down at him, and he's like, you know, if I'm lying, you know, if I'm lying. Like it literally comes to that. Like you either take my
Uh,
word or you don't, because I have no way to prove this. Like you know if I'm lying or not. Like, and I love that that's all it comes down to. It comes down to someone's reputation when it comes to these things. Like real life stories I've heard, when when some people would be shocked at someone in their immediate circle being a pedophile. And then there would be these outsiders who would meet them for the first time and not like them immediately, and not knowing why they don't like them,
mm.
but not liking them. And then for that information to come out in the open like years later, like, oh my God, he was abusive towards kids. And it's kind of like that, where it really relies on your reputation, whether you get caught or whether you survive the watchful eye of society. And that's what the story is. Like, your reputation is all you have. Like, up until that incident, is there anything that proves he did what he did? Other than the kid's testimony, is there anything he proves that proves that? And the basement part is a very big part of that, where it's like, no, like there's no basement like the and to imagine that his kid has to witness that happen to his father.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot fathom that. Like, I cannot imagine what that is, where you are the child. Like, for someone to say that, oh, you're the child of a predator, like that is scary. And they have touched those topics very beautifully. And should we spoil it? Are we spoiling it?
What part?
The last part, the last scene.
Yeah, yeah, we can.
Okay. So
I
if you guys
think,
have
yeah.
not watched the movie, go watch it right now,
Scatter, scatter.
leave.
Yeah.
And if you watch the movie or you want to know how it ends, uh when he confronts his friend, and then the parents of the girl go and um ask her again very politely, can you please tell us what happened? And the first time they give her attention that she wants and she needs in the entire story. And she then reaffirms that no, he did not do anything to her. And he meets her face to face, and he holds nothing against her. In fact, he holds nothing against anybody. That's the part of the movie that
Yeah.
completely baffles me. And you then realize, like, if you are in the throes of that, and if you are the ideal protagonist, right, like with true honesty in his heart, you would be like, yeah, if there was even a whiff of abuse coming from an adult, if it even stunk of abuse, like let's say there's no physical proof of it, I would be very, very careful to have any children around that person, any human around that person. And he understands that had he been in their shoes, he would also be hunting him down. And
Hmm.
that's the it completely shocks me, like especially the last scene where they go hunting, and actually hunting, and someone shoots right above his head, like it just grazes him. And he looks back, and the person like runs away, and it's kind of, that's the metaphor that he was in the sights, like he was supposed to be taken down,
Yeah.
and he just dodged a bullet. And that's all it is. Like,
Yeah.
it's so well made, and it is so, he deserves a lot of respect for doing this movie, because this is not a movie that heroes will agree to do.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't agree to do this movie
I
ever.
think yeah. I think like, especially now, right? Like when cancel culture is so popular,
Yeah,
I don't like this is probably the opposite.
2012 film, right?
Yeah, this is 2012. So this was way before cancel culture, way before Twitter busted
Yeah.
into the scene. So obviously, yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, the obviously the main reason why the movie is called The Hunt is because they are like, apart from the fact that they are a hunting community,
Yeah.
but yeah, he becomes the hunted. And there is this scene where in towards the beginning of the movie where he shoots a deer down, and
Mm,
then in the very next scene, he's the one who's being blamed for everything. So you get to see how, just like a victim of a hunt, you
hmm
get to see how helpless he is as well.
hmm
I think this is like this was released. So this was nominated alongside Omar. Remember the
Yes,
remember Omar?
I remember Omar.
I think it's from Saudi. I don't want to get the country. I think it's from Saudi, right?
I have no memory. But I do remember Omar.
Yeah. So this was nominated alongside Omar and The Great Beauty, that one.
Yes.
And I was so pissed that this movie did not win because this was my favorite movie of that year.
This movie was never gonna win.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
This movie will never ever win because the implications of this story are very, very dark and very
Hmm.
heavy responsibility. Like for someone to put out a story out there that let's talk about the thing that never happens.
Uh,
Like let's talk about that version of
this is,
events.
yeah, I think, yeah, this is, we can say that this is a Me Too movie because incidents like this hurt the cause more than anything else, right?
Yes, they do. Like when people make up a story, all the victims that went through it, they suffer. They will
Yeah,
always suffer. The victims will
yeah,
always suffer if someone lies about something.
yeah.
And that's why this movie is in many ways like extremely important of what happens when a person is neglectful towards their child.
Hmm.
I was watching the monsoon wedding yesterday with my neighbor, and I was just thinking about because that is a story of the abuse happening and
Hmm.
then a repeated cycle showing, and the previous victim like not saying a word about it till she realizes someone else is going to get victimized. And the the reason that story is so riveting is because that is 99% of the times, 99.9999% of the times, that's what happens. There is no
Hmm.
return for that person. There's no redemption for that person. That person is just a horrible monster. And the those stories, when they come out in the open and when people like start talking about incidents that they have known to, like if it happened to them or if it happened to people they knew, the the rise of the story is always like that, where someone took the abuse and then when they came out with it, they were called a liar.
Hmm.
And this story is the opposite.
This is the exact opposite. Like this is what you would say is probably uh an ideal community,
Yeah,
like ideal way of dealing with this thing. Obviously, they don't look into the matter as much as we think, and that results in him and his life going
getting
awry.
ruined. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the reactions in the way that the family reacted to it, like the dad reacted to it, the uh how his girlfriend reacted to it, I think that is something that we don't see uh, in reality. I
No,
think you're right about that.
that's true. We don't see the implications of that because we always presume, like we always presume that, oh, this starts and ends with a person. It actually doesn't.
Hmm.
It impacts everything they touch, and
And
for good
even
reason.
after, yeah, and even after all this, he's the one who's still not blaming the so-called victim
No,
here.
because he cannot. It's a child.
Hmm.
He cannot blame her. It is as
Yeah.
it is literally like you said, a deer was chosen at random to be shot at. He was chosen
Hmm.
at random to be accused. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's nothing else. And like if you watch Monsoon Wedding, I recommend highly to watch that. If you've not watched this movie, I recommend highly to watch this. And if you've not watched Gargi, which is neither Monsoon Wedding nor The Hunt, It is, I think, more often than not, and this is why I brought up the monsoon wedding story. There is there are monsters always lurking in broad daylight, in like jobs that keep them closer to their victims, or the people they want to prey on, the children they want to prey on, and that's a fact. Like, that is an unfortunate statistic that we are dealing with. And for people, the only thing society can do is be vigilant
Hmm.
and nip it in the bud when they can. And that is what the hunt is. It is the attempt to correct a mistake, the wrong mistake, perhaps, but a mistake nonetheless. And that's the point. Like, everything kind of is about, okay, this horrible thing happened or was about to happen. Let's stop it. And that's what it is ultimately. And that's why, even as an audience, you forgive the society, you forgive the parents for being neglectful of the child, you forgive the child, you forget for 2 seconds what the protagonist went through. Because in many ways, it's like, what else would they have done? If you had this information about a human being, you would stay away from them. Even if it was false, you would stay away from them. This is a fact.
Yeah.
So the movie kind of explores that regardless of whether or not it is true, as a society, what would you do? What would your decision making be? And
Mhm.
that's why this movie is great. That's why neither of us have watched it, I guess, more than twice, because it's a hard film to
No,
watch.
no. It's a tough one. I was also like when I saw it recently, I also thought about Monsoon Wedding, how it's like the exact opposite of this
Exact
thing.
opposite.
And the reason why, so usually when we talk about dark movies, like the one that we talked about last week,
Yeah.
Raw, it
Hmm.
is something that is very, very far from reality, right? But the reason why this movie is so dark is uh because of the helpless nature that of the whole incident, right? Of how
Yeah.
helpless he feels about it.
Yeah.
And but it is so rooted in reality as well.
Yes.
I think that's an anomaly when we talk about this movie.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, one question.
Hmm.
Uh Drook or the Hunt? Yaktin.
Brooke.
No.
Come on.
Okay, for me it's
Come on.
Yaktin.
Okay. Brooke wins because Mikkelsen dances. It wins every time. Mikkelsen
Okay.
dances. Okay. Take 2 seconds as a grown ass man and think about that. We get to see Mr. Mikkelsen dance, and not dance like, where he goes, no. We get to see him leap off a bench and dance. It is always going to be Brooke. Always.
Uh,
Come on.
okay, so that point can be made that he dances, but I think Mickelson uh Mickelsen's acting chops was much more visible in Yaktin than Trug. Uh,
Guys, watch
you,
both
if
and
you
and
think
and prove to him how stupid he's being right now. This
you
is
must
just,
be really mad to say that Druk is a better
you have some good transition segues going on with you today. It is
movie.
rare and fleeting, like the Halley's
Okay,
Comet. So I'm so
cool.
pleased.
Let's end on a high point.
But yeah, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. We adore you. Do stick around for like more interesting cinema recommends, show recommends. We are also people that keep up with, like I said earlier, like pop culture. We are diehard fans of like Ted Lasso and Mrs. Maisel, and so we even do like episode reviews and scene breakdowns, and we've done like some really good work with the Breaking Saul. Sorry, Breaking Saul.
Uh, it like Saul does get broken.
I meant to say Saul bad. No. We did a fantastic review of uh, what's it called? Uh, Better Call Saul finale. And
Yay!
the reason I'm talking about such an old video is because I was thinking about it the other day, and about, like stories which are really, really gray. And and there is no one way to judge it, and you know that show was one of those things, and we do that a lot on the channel. We adore you know, shows that leave us with some kind of a daunting feeling of getting, you know, pen to paper and writing scripts of our own. You know, there are some shows and some
Mm.
movies that do that. You may never actually make a movie, but it makes you think like, oh, I should write a screenplay. And this is generally what we end up doing. We talk about stuff that we love. There is no hate here, and there is no if anything that is said that, you know, may seem like, oh my god, that was not okay, like that is not our intention. And we are trying really hard to navigate this. We are trying really hard to learn these things as well. So anything you think we can learn from, you know, any of our past videos, anything that we can do for our future videos, let us know. Like, please comment. Like, we got a comment last week talking about last week talking about The Mood for Love, and I was so happy somebody went, oh, explain that scene to me, and that was awesome. Like, please tell us if there's something that does not make sense to you, and we are just, because we are two friends talking to each other, so there is stuff that may not make sense to you and may make sense only to us, and that's why we would really appreciate some feedback. And know that we love you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.